Hello everyone, this is Yana Smakula. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I have two fun things to share with you. First of all, I am experimenting with BetterPress and I'm using BetterPress with non-BetterPress inks. So I have BetterPressing with a WaterMark ink for a tone-on-tone look and BetterPressing with a white pigment ink for an almost white effect. And the second thing is this video and the coordinating blog post on my blog are a part of a fun blog hop from Spellbinders. It's the favorite holiday 2023 product blog hop. And I'm excited to be a part of this blog hop. If you are a fan of Spellbinders or if you've been following me for quite some time, you know that Spellbinders releases a ton of holiday collections and a ton of holiday products every year. This year, I went and counted, and you're not going to believe it, there were 22 different Christmas collections. I mean, how great of a number is that? And mind you, every collection includes at least 4 products. So there are so many different products to choose from. There is a little bit for everybody. I have already shared quite a few videos on my YouTube channel featuring some of the holiday collections from Spellbinders. Of course, I couldn't share all of them, but I have shared my favorites. Of course, I had my own collection in July 2023 called Yana's Delightful Christmas, and I have several videos featuring that collection. You can check those out on my YouTube channel. There's also a video featuring the Stitched Christmas collection and also other additional videos featuring other collections on my channel, and I have links to those in my video description box below. Today I am creating with a die set from the Classic Christmas collection. It's the Christmas Bird Poinsettia die set, and I wanted to create some fun Christmas cards. I wanted to create cards that will look like little packages wrapped in twine. In order to do that, I first started to work on my backgrounds, and I wanted to try creating a BetterPress background with a very subtle BetterPressed impression. Because I was going for that packaged type look, I picked the craft paper from my stash. This is actually Dune cardstock from Spellbinders, and I wanted to BetterPress a beautiful impression on top of it. So I'm using one of the BetterPress plates. This is the Merry Christmas and Happy New Year BetterPress plate from the BetterPress Christmas collection from Spellbinders, and I wanted to BetterPress this on the Dune cardstock to have a very subtle, very tone-on-tone background. There are several different colors of the BetterPress inks, but none of the colors really work for this Dune cardstock. They are a little bit too bright. So what I decided to do, I decided to try some other inks from my stash. I really love doing tone-on-tone stamping with a WaterMark ink, so I thought, why not try the WaterMark ink for BetterPressing? Of course, it's a different formula. It's not the same type of ink that the BetterPress ink is, but if you never try, you will never know if things work or not. So I inked up my BetterPress plate using the WaterMark ink. The one that I'm using is from Spellbinders, but you can use any other embossing and watermark ink that you have. The Versamark one is good. The Hero Arts one is good. I mean, there are many different watermark inks on the market. You just need to make sure that it's not just an embossing ink, that it is a watermark ink. The watermark ink will give you that tone-on-tone impression. So I inked up my plate. I used the twist and turn or tap and turn motion. I did ink it up quite lightly. I did not apply pressure when inking my plate. I was trying to be careful and mindful of how much ink I was getting onto the plate. And then I just followed the instructions for the BetterPress plate, and I sent the BetterPress sandwich through my die cutting machine. So here I have my Platinum 6, and check out this result. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, it might not be quite as crisp and quite as detailed of an impression as you would have gotten with a BetterPress ink. I still think it looks amazing and it looks phenomenal. Now, I also tried experimenting with a white pigment ink and I got a very nice white impression. The white pigment ink was a little bit trickier to use. It took a little bit more It took several additional impressions, but it still worked fine. So let me show you how I did the white inking. Here I have the Simon Says Stamp white pigment ink. You can also use white pigment ink from other brands. I know the Hero Arts Unicorn White is a great one, and there are other white pigment inks on the market. So here I am once again tapping and turning my ink pad on the plate. I'm not applying pressure. I'm trying to be careful. I'm not pressing on my ink pad. This is a different type of an ink pad, so it's very easy to get quite a lot of ink out from the ink pad and onto my plate. So I am being very careful, trying not to press hard when I'm inking the plate so that I don't over ink it and I don't have too much ink on it. With that done, I've added my clear plate on top. I've already taped my Dune cardstock onto the clear plate, and I've sent it through my Platinum 6 to apply pressure and create the beautiful letterpressed design. And let's take a look. I think it looks amazing. Here's a card that I have already finished using the white letterpressed background. You can see that the white background on my card is a little bit brighter, and that's because I letterpressed that one 3 times. So this is sort of similar to double or triple stamping with your MISTI. You know, you sometimes have to double stamp your images or triple stamp your images to have a better ink saturation, more ink on your paper. I did the same thing here. I ran my BetterPress plate 3 times through my Platinum machine. I re-inked the plate every single time to have more ink, to build that white ink on the paper. Here, I tried doing this 4 times and I noticed that it didn't really make any difference. So 2 to 3 times was the charm with the white pigment ink. Now, when you are re-inking and redoing your letterpress impression, you do run the risk of the magnetic piece shifting a little bit because there is a little bit of a wiggle room. So you might have a double impression. I did end up with a double impression on this paper, but it didn't bother me. The offset, the double stamping was so minimal. I think it looked nice in the end. It did not bother me. I'm going to do this one more time. Now, if you are concerned about the magnetic piece shifting, you can use a piece of tape and just tape it onto the white part so that it's going to stay in place and not move. I did tape it in the end, but even without taping, I think it still works fine. I think it still gives me great results. So, that being said, I think it is safe to say that we can experiment with all sorts of different colors and different formulas of ink. Of course, the BetterPress ink will always give us the best result, the most crisp results. But if you sometimes want to use that other color of ink, you absolutely can. By the way, it was Joan Bardee that inspired me to try this. Joan did a guest post on the Spellbinders blog, and she used some pale ink from her stash to create a background, and it looked absolutely beautiful. So I thought to myself, hey, why not try using other colors of ink? I also want to try using some alcohol marker Copic friendly ink for BetterPressing because I would love to color some of my BetterPress images with Copic markers. And the BetterPress ink is not particularly Copic marker friendly. It does bleed when it comes in contact with Copic markers. So I want to try that. So here's a look at the background. I've done this 4 times now, and it looks beautiful. Not only do I have the beautiful white design, but the image is also pressed into the paper, so you have that nice tactile experience when you run your hand across it. With the backgrounds ready, it is time to make our cards. I have trimmed this background down slightly only because I did not press it exactly in the center of my panel, so I kind of needed to have it centered. And now I'm adding a little bit of the red twine around it. So I'm wrapping my paper using the red twine. This is the Vivant twine. It is now available in the Spellbinders shop. This twine comes in different colors, and there are actually lots of different products from Vivant, lots of beautiful ribbons and threads and cords and all sorts of things. And they're very, very pretty. So I'm just using this twine to wrap my little card front as if I'm wrapping a gift. Super easy to do, and I'm just going to tie it into a cute little bow. Next, I'm going to adhere this background onto a card base, and here I have an A2 card. What I'm going to do is I'm using some scrap cardstock, and I'm going to trim it into pieces so that I can adhere those in the 4 sections that the twine has divided my card into. You can also use fun foam for this, or scrap cardstock, whatever works for you, or even foam adhesive squares or foam tape. I'm just adding panels, cardstock panels here because that works for me, and I'm using glue to adhere those in place. So I've just cut those to size. I'm using glue to adhere those onto the background from the back, and I'm using magnets to hold the panels in place while the glue is drying. With that done, I'm also adding glue to adhere these onto the card base. My second card does not have a white border because I did a better job at aligning the BetterPress plate on my background, and it was nice and centered, so I just adhered it straight onto the background without the border. Next, I have already created several die cuts using the Christmas bird poinsettia dies from the Classic Christmas collection. I did not die cut the bird. I just wanted to use the beautiful poinsettia. I love how large it is. By the way, this poinsettia is symmetrical. I do prefer when the poinsettia is not symmetrical but has more of an organic look, but I really like the size of this poinsettia, so that's why I used it. I did die cut the poinsettia layer twice, one from lighter red and another one from a darker red cardstock, and I adhered one layer on top of another, but I did not align it correctly. I offset it slightly, so it has a bit of that organic look anyway. I've also created additional die cuts. I have the candy cane here, and I just die cut the candy cane from red and white cardstock, and that gave me enough pieces to create 2 candy canes that look almost identical. I also die cut some pine needles and some leaves, and also some additional branches from different shades of green cardstock from Spellbinders. That last little branch, the white one with the red berries, I made that one by cutting it from white cardstock and then cutting another piece from red glitter cardstock. I then cut the red berries off and I adhered them onto the white die cut. You can also use a marker. You can use a red marker to color the berries red on your paper. That's what I did for one of these die cuts, although I do prefer when I add the glitter die cuts on top. I just prefer having another layer there. It just looks a little bit better if you ask me. So now I'm using foam adhesive squares and glue, and I'm just adding my pieces in place. I foam mounted the poinsettia, I've added the candy cane, and I'm using foam adhesive squares to pop the ends of the candy cane, even though I've added glue in the center. I'm just going to work on my arrangement until I have a beautiful little cluster here, perfect for my little card. This is a really fun die set, and by the way, it is currently on sale. You can grab it for $16.49, and it's a quite large set. Like I said, I really like the size of that poinsettia, and then of course you have the bird that you can use to create additional projects with. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. I share card making video tutorials as often as I can. Sometimes that's several times a week. Other times it's just once or twice a month. You can also subscribe to my blog newsletter for even more card making goodness from me, and I have a subscription link in my video description below. Now, as for the sentiment, I kind of debated for a long time what kind of sentiment I wanted to use. I experimented with some wax seals because I thought that might make a good sentiment. I tried creating a rectangular seal for this card, but that did not quite work the way I had hoped. So finally, I switched to my little tub of pre-made sentiments. In here, I have a bunch of sentiments that I created using the Merry and Bright sentiment strips, BetterPress plate and die set from the More BetterPress Christmas collection. So those are BetterPress sentiments that I have foiled using the gold foil on a red cardstock, and I had just cut them out. That's actually a very cool BetterPress plate because it foils a bunch of sentiments at once, and it also cuts a bunch of sentiments at once, hence why I have all of these sentiments. And honestly, this is super helpful because I can just do it once, and then I have a bunch of beautiful multiple sentiments for my cards. Now, I wasn't sure which sentiment I wanted to use. Most of them seemed a little bit too long for this card design. I didn't want a sentiment that would go past the edge of my card, so I debated for quite some time until I found the one that was absolutely perfect. And with that done, I shaped it using my fingers. I used a little bit more foam adhesive, and I just adhered that in place. Lately, I have been enjoying adding some snow splatter or spatter onto my cards, and this card really felt like it needed some spatter or splatter. To me, this seemed like a package that is sitting out on the front porch. It is waiting for the recipient to return home. And while the recipient is on his way or on her way to get home, it's snowing outside. And so the package is covered in snow a little bit. So here I'm adding a little bit of snow to this image. I've used some white acrylic paint. I've diluted it with water. And now I'm just using a water brush to add the white droplets onto my background. You can go a little overboard. I tend to go a little overboard. I didn't go overboard on this card, but I feel like I went overboard on the other card that I created, but I still love this look. I feel like this is especially appropriate for Christmas cards, for winter cards, because you got a little bit of that faux snow, and that's especially fitting if you live somewhere where there's no snow or very little snow. So here's a look at the cards I have for you today, created with the BetterPress plates and different types of ink, and also the Spellbinders Christmas products. Be sure to head over to my blog to join the Spellbinders blog hub. If you are looking for a list of supplies that I used, you can find that on my blog or in the video description below. And as always, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you feel inspired to create. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.